Two very common things I see paired with emotional neglect in Latino and Mexican families is enmeshment trauma and parentification, where parentification is where the child is forced to take on adult responsibilities, right? Often from a young age. And I see this happen among men and women, but it's especially more true in women simply because of the strong gender roles where women are expected to be fully submitting and take on those roles of being motherly, right? As it's a very ingrained part of our culture, and it's something that a lot of people can recognize, right? But there's usually nothing wrong with this, but what ends up happening is that the child becomes much more than just a child. They become the caretaker of their younger siblings, and they manage a lot of household tasks or provide emotional support even to one or both parents whenever the parent is simply working too much. They're not emotionally available. They're dealing with their own things. They're dealing with the broken marriage. There's so many different factors that could go into this, but it creates this environment where the child is forced to take on these responsibilities, right? Or else they'll all suffer for it, right? In some sort of way. So the burden of this can lead to a person feeling like they have no personal autonomy. They have no strong sense of self, right? They can feel empty. They can feel like they have no voice. They have no choice. They have no way out of this, and this is simply what their life is, right? And a lot of times, even in an older age, I hear this from people where they always felt like they were just living on autopilot, right? And we're having to do what was expected of them and always going along with what was expected of them from their parents, or else they faced repercussions that can range from verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse. Any of those things can happen to them, right? Or even more subtle forms of abuse, like always being shown the cold shoulder, or being given a silent treatment from a mother or father, or just simply being ignored or reprimanded for anything that they may say or do that's not exactly up to the parents' expectations. So I also want to touch on enmeshment trauma, where the boundaries between family members can become very blurred, right? So, for example, you could feel very close to a mother or a father, and sometimes even too close, where they tell you all of their problems, whether it's financial, whether it's marital problems, whether it's family problems with other family members, like their brothers or sisters, right? And you just take on so much emotionally that your own well-being is ignored or not even important, not even recognized by others. And whatever the head of the household is feeling, whether it's the mom or the dad, right? If they're angry, then everybody else is scared or sad. If they're sad, then everybody feels that. If they're happy, then everybody's happy, right? And there's no sense of autonomy. There's no sense of self where it's separated from that, right? Where you recognize that they can be dealing with their own things and you don't have to take on those emotional turmoils that they're going through. So these are two things that I see happen a lot whenever I speak to people that connect to this subject of emotional neglect. So if this is something that you're going through, just know that there is a way out, there is hope. And a lot of times it does take making choices for yourself that is going to create some friction between a parent, right? But that friction is necessary for you to be able to gain your own independence, your own sense of self, your own confidence that's separate from your family, right? And a lot of times, the people that are stuck in this simply want to start to live a life where they can make choices on their own and they don't have to feel afraid or feel like they're rejecting their family, feel like they're abandoning them, right? Because it's very hard to separate your identity from them now that you are trying to, right? You're trying to make those choices. And a lot of the times I just hear from them that they feel hopeless, they feel empty, they feel like they have no choice but to keep living this, right? So by what I do, what I focus on is trying to build their self-confidence, their internal self-esteem, their internal view of themselves, right? And find the simplest ways for them to start to, to make friction happen, or to at least show that they are now demanding respect from a parent, right? Because that's what is going to be needed for you to be able to make those choices for yourself and begin to develop that self-identity, right? That internal feeling of being able to finally choose for yourself, right? That freedom that you were lacking for so long. So it does take a lot of work. It does take time, but it is possible. And by working on the internal states that you may be going through or you have been feeling for so long, no matter if you've dealt with addiction, self-harm, or suicidal ideation, any more intense things that can happen because of feeling this way, right? This trapped feeling. And it doesn't matter how this has shown up in your life, right? This feeling of being trapped. It can be something that is transformed and changed and opened up to new possibilities in your life so that you can begin to work towards your own self identity and independence that is crucial for you to be able to live a life that you want, right? That's not based on others' expectations or responsibilities they're placing on you. So hopefully you can connect to this video, and thank you for watching.